I have a sore throat, fever, and cough. Is it the flu?
Symptoms consistent with spontaneous combustion,
That doesn't sound right.
hysterical pregnancy, disco fever.
What?
Maybe make an appointment at Summa Health.
Yeah, let's do that.
Get winterized with a wellness checkup and flu shot at Summa Health. Call 800-23-SUMMA or visit summahealth.org/own-it today. It's your health. Let's own it together.
Well, I mean, it is a short week. I mean, having to bus back from Ball State, we got back about midnight and got up early to do the TV show and get to work on the next game. But we've got a practice under our belt now. It was not just a Monday kind of see who's banged up and go over corrections. It was a Monday, get ready with our game plan. So our coaches had to burn some midnight oil last night and to try to get a game plan, because we don't have to work the players, but we have to give them the right plays to work on in a shorter period of time. So it does put a much bigger burden on the coaches, where it should, and not on the players to come in all day Sunday and all that stuff. So, but we're very excited. I was just so pleased with the way our players fought Saturday, coming off the Western Michigan loss and going against Ball State that's played very well. We're both 4-3. They're running the ball very well, and their offense has been able to control the clock, and they started out doing just that. And we had a hard time getting them off the field, and we fumbled on our first possession, scored on our second possession. I think punted on our third one, and by the fourth one we ran out of time trying to score again, and we're down 17-7. But I really felt the players. I really felt something special about our players at halftime and their commitment. They knew what they had to do down 17-7, and offensively we kicked the ball off to us. We score, they stop. We score, they stop, and I think we score the next time. And so our players did what they had to do, and I was so proud of our players to win on the road against a Ball State team that probably was favored a little bit, and it was a great win for our players to get our 5 wins. Now that's over, and now we face Buffalo, and this one now becomes, they're all so important right now because they all mean something, and they're, first of all, they're conference games, so that's part of the conference. If you're still in the hunt in your conference for a division championship, which we are, but for a bowl game, they would make us bowl eligible. Last time we went to Buffalo, we just had to win a game probably to be bowl eligible, and we lost 55-24. They beat us every possible way you can get beat, so we don't forget that. And also they were beating Ball State 14-7 at halftime in their game. So our players know that already, and so we know our guys are excited. We've got a lot of work to do in a short period of time. We've got a team that's played some good football this year. The score hasn't come out well, but we know, having played Kent State and some other teams, that a play here and a play there is basically what separates the top from the bottom in our conference. And we're kind of a feisty team that has to fight for everything we get. And so we're looking forward to it. And our players we'll get a lot done in a little bit of time, and then get our players as rested up as possible to be ready for a Thursday night game.
How much more difficult is preparation when you have as short a schedule, shorter turnaround as you've got this week?
You have to just eliminate a full day of practice, basically. I mean, it's a full. A full day of practice, and then practice on the day before the game. That's kind of what we've decided to do. We eliminate one full day of practice, and then try to get a little bit of morning practices on Wednesday before we get on the bus, and which would be a normal Thursday practice for those that watch us go on Thursday. That'll be our Thursday on Wednesday morning. So. And I think the key is, it's not so much the players they'll forget how to block and tackle and catch and throw the football, but can we go over the repetitions of assignments for another team that's going to play a different scheme than last year's scheme? They're going to run different plays than last week's plays. It is the same for both teams. So in that sense, when I was told of our schedule, the only thing I could say was, because if we're as a MAC conference, we're either in this together or we're not, and we're in this together. We play Wednesday nights, we play Thursday nights, we play Tuesday nights, or whatever nights we play, but we're in this thing together. And so all I ask that each team go into it with the exact same amount of days, and that's what this one, we have Buffalo has the exact same amount of days, other than a home game, I think, and not as much time on the road. They have the same problems we're facing, and I haven't had many. I don't know in your career you have too many 5-day weeks, because usually on a Thursday or a Wednesday you might have a week off before you get to that Thursday in a normal situation.
Does it help them mentally knowing that these are nationally televised games and that they can really, if the right eyes are watching, make an impression?
George, we talk about that, but and I can remember over the years that I've coached when to get a TV game, I don't care if you were at Auburn or somewhere, it was a big game. But nowadays, every game you got is on some kind of TV, even if people put it on their computer and hook it up to their TV, it's a broadcasted game. And so I think that's true. I mean, we emphasize that hey, this is a chance to show your stuff. Maybe make a play, get on ESPN Sports Center, something like that. You always say those things. But, my mom and dad back home watch every one of our games just like it's on regular TV. And if somebody doesn't tell my dad, he'll think it's just on regular TV because that's what he watches it on. And so, but we do our players do like the thought, know that their families and people can watch it around the country.
Except the end of the Ken game, you shut that off.
Yeah, my dad and mom, they may love it, but they also love not having to be upset stomach, and they could not watch the last minute of the Kent game, and they turned it off and missed our last minute and a half drive to win the game against Kent.
Along the line, the scheduling thing.
Uh-huh.
Is there? I mean, do they? And I know you say,
right.
We'll do 2 and 5 if
right.
we're doing 2 and 5.
Right.
And now you're doing 2 and 5 both on the road, which is
right.
And so is Ohio.
Mm.
Do they? I mean, is there any input from you, or you're told, or the university's told, how it's going to be?
I think this is out of my pay scale. I mean, it really is. Those decisions are. I think we coaches don't really, have a lot of total say. It's these games are, again, we make a decision. That's what our conference is going to do, and then we all agree to go by it. And all I can do is just, like I say, gosh, is plan for our hope that the other team has the same amount of time to prepare as we do. Now even on a bus, we're grading our video. I mean, we already have the game graded and evaluated by the time we get back to Akron. We've got all the video, and so the players are sleeping and we coaches are working. So we won't lose a lot of preparation time because we're on the road, but it is tiring. 5.5 hours for all of those who were on a bus for 5 hours, or maybe it was 5.5 for that short trip we had back. That shortcut we took. That's an inside joke, of course. But we got to know each other a little bit better.
Were you surprised at the way Thomas came in and seemingly picked up right where he left off? It looked like there was very little rust. Well, he was just ready to go.
Well, I worried about a little bit of rust because he's had 3 weeks where he's kind of thrown a little bit, and the shoulder bothered him some, and he couldn't throw, and so he's trying to rest it. And I was worried. Now, he had a good full week of practice last week. He practiced hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. So you kind of knew coming in that you could watch him in practice and make sure he could throw all of his stuff. So I was a little bit concerned about timing because the one thing that he has over Trevon that takes is the amount of repetitions with the starting receivers and the chemistry and the timing that's involved in the passing game. He has got much more. He gets all the reps. The starter gets all the reps, and so he's got a year and a half of those kind of reps. So I was a little bit surprised how effective and how much timing we had, but I was awful good to see it, and he had an outstanding football game in that game.
You had so many guys that were missing, so you had a lot of younger players on
right.
the field defensively. So between, let's face it, they drive right down the field.
Right.
Then they drive down the field, they hold them to field goal the second time. But what changes between then and what happened?
Well, and again, you just have to kind of talk them through it and calm them down and hope you hold them to a field goal. If we don't fumble the ball on our first drive, it's probably 14-14. We're driving the ball as well, and I'm sure their coaches are trying to figure out how to stop us the same way we're trying to figure out how to stop them. I think when you're playing different people together for the first time, if you can remember how Dylan Evans and Jatavis and those guys played together when they were freshmen. We didn't stop a whole lot of people. But over repetition and repetition and repetition, by third year, they could stop almost anybody. They were number one defense, total defense in the conference. Well, you take a bunch of guys in the first half, put them together. It takes about 30 minutes for them to work with each other and recognize what the things are. And so it's a small example of what repetition and just seeing something over and over again. So basically what it was, some guys that don't play a lot were able to see the plays over and over again, and by the second half, they weren't shell shocked. They could recognize things and play a little better. And it was important that we offensively came out and scored on our first drive, and that once we stopped them, we came back and scored again. All of a sudden, we're 21-17, and now I think everybody settles down and relaxes a little bit. And like Western Michigan, the difficulty is when you get behind 17, 21 points, it changes what we see on offense. It changes what we now see, because now their defense doesn't have to come up and press, doesn't have to take chances. They can give up this. They can give us a lot of this. So it changes a lot of times. So you got to stay in the hunt a little bit, because you're going to get a whole different look on the other side of the ball as well if you don't stay close, because now they're playing with a 21 points cushion or a 14, 17 point cushion. So you're not going to make a living doing that very often. I was just so glad the way our team stuck together and worked hard and came together just like it's Kent State.
What was said to the defense at halftime?
Yeah.
Because there was a vast difference.
Right.
In what you gave up on the ground in the first half to the
186-70, I think, was the deal. Well, but again, as I just explained, of course, Chuck Amana's not going to go out there and just pull his hair out. He's thankfully he's still got hair. Face it, we all are at our age, But he's going to try to show them what plays they're running and how you're going to make an adjustment for it. He's got different linebackers in there. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know that I think people would be shocked if they knew what you didn't do at halftime. You don't yell a lot. You don't have to waste the time. I think corrections were made. A few things were done. Most importantly, as you come out there and they try to attack us with the same plays, these guys that it's new to them, they pick it up a little better. So that was the main thing, and I think it's important that the experience of the staff can calm them down a little bit, and we were able to score on offense and then began to recognize. And the most thing is that you make some corrections, you show things that were hurting you, and you hope they can rally and respond to that, and then if you're, and then go from there.
Chuck said he didn't do much.
Well, he has to coach. He does. If anything, I'm the one that has to. I got my shaker and my pom-pom pants, because as a head coach, I'm more of a cheerleader a lot during the game. I might make a call whether we go for it on fourth. They're going to ask me to make the call if we go for it on fourth down, or we're going to do this or do that. But Chuck is intimately involved with the game plan, and so they did a good job of working these guys through it. We thought before the season began that we needed to be much more productive on offense, because it was going to be a work in progress for our defense, and we're still in that process right now, and Buffalo's the next contest.
Speaking of which, how do you keep these guys focused, knowing one, Buffalo is 1-6.
Right.
Number two, but they always seem to give you guys a battle no matter what.
Yeah, it's just, we have not been that dominant of a football team. Our players, we about got beat by Kent State on the last play. We make a great drive to lose to a team that had won one game at that time, and then Buffalo was up 14-7 at halftime against Ball State. That was up 17-7 on us. And you start to show and then our players know that we have got to go out there and play our best. I don't think we're at that point where we have this feeling that we are just so good that we're just going to walk away with victories. I think our players know if we get behind, the worst thing you can do is go out there and get a slow start and get behind. And if you got to play a real good team like Western Michigan, you don't have the ability to catch up. And if you play a team that is maybe not as strong as you are, it gives them momentum, it gives them confidence, it lets them play better. So in both extremes, we got to hope we can come out and play a little bit better at the beginning of the game.
How surprised are you with the contribution of Alvin Davis and Monte Chester to both true freshmen?
Right. I think those two are the biggest surprises. Alvin Davis, without a doubt. Alvin was going to be a gray shirt. He was one that we picked up that we knew a lot about, but something happened where he was going to go, and we didn't have any scholarships available. But we told him if he would hang on, and we would grace, which means if we bring him in January and he counts towards next year. At the last day or week or so, somebody didn't show, and we had one available, and we brought him in, and he's 150 pounds maybe, but what he has is, and he's done a great job. I mean, he started last week, had 15 tackles, I think. But I think what it's with all these freshmen, it's not so much their athletic ability, it's their mental maturity. Can they step into a college football game at the Division I level and be relaxed, to play with confidence, to not be nervous? I mean, I remember the first time I got to dress in college, I couldn't get my eyes off what the uniform looked like, and the loud noise of the crowd, and seeing all the band and all that. So all those things that mesmerize you. He just had a lot of maturity, and that's kind of what separated him from a lot of the freshmen. Devon Jest is just it's funny. He's 5'10", 320 pounds. He's just a good athlete, and we had hoped to redshirt him, and we had some people hurt, and we just had to stick him in there. But he's got a knack for beating a block, but he's got a long way to go. I think Alvin's probably out in the secondary is a little more ready to play. Javon's he's got some talent, and if you're gonna have break in a second teamer, if he's got 4 years left, break in the second teamer, break in the young guy, and that's kind of where we are with him.
How much of for Davis,
Mm-hmm.
Joe had him on after the game. That was very interesting. How much of that comes from maybe the coaching or the atmosphere he played in high school, playing at St. Thomas?
You don't play very much like some programs around these areas that we're familiar with in high school. You don't play at St. Thomas Aquinas unless you can play. I mean, young men seek that school out and transfer there so they have a chance to play for a champion. And you don't even think about going there unless you're good enough to be one of the best in the county, And so that's the kind of player he is and I think that's the kind of program that is, that when you go there, you've already beaten out some Division I players, and you're playing with a lot of Division I players, and you've got a lot of confidence coming from that type of program. And so that was he was just small. He was a small guy, like JoJo, probably bigger than JoJo, but he's that small guy from the Fort Lauderdale area that can really play. He's a header. The amazing thing is how hard he hits for 150 pounds. He really one of the hardest hitting players I've seen at 150 pounds.
I mean, he's second on your team in solid tackles.
Yeah, he gets to the ball and he gets there in a bad mood, kind of deal. I'm just afraid he's going to get hurt because he hits so hard and he's only 150 pounds. You just say, how does he keep from getting hurt? But he keeps on going.
The offensive line yet? How well they play?
No, the offensive line played very well. I mean, we graded very well, and that was huge for that. We talked about Tommy Woodson, but we came. Ball State going into that game was the 5th-ranked sack team in America. They had 20 or 21 sacks, somewhere around there. But they were the 5th-ranked, I think, and they had no sack. We had no sacks. We were able to protect our quarterback, got rid of the ball. We rushed for 177, and again, when you're rushing attack, we our first team Edwards averaged 7.1. I want to say quarterback averaged 6.1, and Manny maybe 5.1 or somewhat. Well, those three numbers stand out. They all averaged over 5 yards a carry. So the efficiency of our running plays were very, very good. When we don't get ahead of somebody, when we're throwing the ball and catching up, when other teams are scoring, you don't get to go back to that running game where you just run and run and run and get your average up. And so we don't always have the numbers that we want to have, but I think the number of efficient plays was very, very good Saturday, and that's the offensive line. We didn't give up a sack, other than I think we had the same guy was lined up in the backfield about a foot too far back 3 times, and he knows that correction. We try to get it corrected, and we had a 100-yard rusher and 177 yards rushing, which in our offense I think 175 to 200 would be very comfortable for us, that we haven't been able to get to every game. But that's about where we had set some goals in the way we throw the football, and so it was the offensive line did an outstanding job, and again, this is a pretty good little front. They really they're number 1 in the conference against the pass, and they're number 12 against the run, but their offense hadn't scored a lot, and people just keep running the ball at them, and so I don't know how all that fits into our game plan. We won't tell everybody, but it's an interesting stats with this team that we're playing.
Coach, without getting too technical,
Yeah.
New offensive line coach, I think he's the youngest Division I line coach
Mhm.
in the country. He comes out of a background in Mount Union that threw the ball all over the place. Is there different techniques and pass blocking that he brings, or is it just a unit coming together?
I'm sure he has the things he learned at a program. I think the main thing was Daryl Funk, who was the line coach that trained him, did a good job of working with him and training him. A.J. Milwee is at the point now in the offense that I've encouraged him to learn every position, learn every technique, every assignment, and start being the guy that knows everybody's assignment very, very well. Because at this level of program, assistants come and go, and you better have never know everybody's assignment. So I think it was a good mix. I think Brett was the type of attitude. He came. The biggest thing about Mount Union, we have 3 now: strength coach, line coach, and then a graduate assistant. They have a culture of winning there. Those kids know they just know nothing but winning. That's all they do is win, and they bring that with them. And then the work ethic is very good. But I think the biggest thing was that we didn't try to change. We kept him there. The kids had 3 different line coaches, and we felt like let's continue the same blocking schemes and techniques. And I just thought with AJ having a young guy he could mentor. It really has worked out very, very well. Those 2 they're the last guys out of the office every night. They don't get home too early.